Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Red Liberty Media. We have a very special guest today, Sonja Shaw from Chino Valley School Board. She is the president of the Chino Valley School Board, and you want to hear what she has to say. She's making national headlines, and they're going to be doing something very exciting on Thursday, which I don't know. If you talk to the wrong people, they won't say it's very exciting, but we know it's exciting because all truth belongs to God and all truth comes from a source, and that is Jesus, and that's the word of God. And I know Sonja believes that. So, Sonja, welcome to Red Liberty Media.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Definitely. Tell us a little bit about what's happening on Thursday.
As non-controversial as it should be, most districts have a policy to get rid of inappropriate material. But because of the influx of things coming in, I was presented with things that were in our district that horrified me. And so working with a bunch of amazing people and then sending it through our district legal, I am bringing forward a addition to one of our current policies to make sure that we get any sexually explicit material out of our libraries and out of our school district and out of the hands of children, most importantly.
Now, what's the other side saying? What's the other argument? Because they're saying that this doesn't exist, right?
Exactly. I mean, the headlines, the lies, the twists of truth they always come when you try to do the best thing for children. That's what I've seen in the last 3.5 years. They're trying to say that we're banning books and we're getting rid of, you'll see things like we're getting rid of enrichment, things that, are enrichment material for the children. And I'm over here like the things that were presented to me are horrifying. And I'm sorry, even in the own comfort of your home, I don't think those things should be presented to children. But here in the school district itself, when kids are failing at reading, writing, and math, we want every book possible to be a material of enrichment for them. And I don't feel like these things that were presented and shown to me that they're in our own libraries should be anywhere near children, especially under the supervision of our school district.
Yeah. And we're not just talking about like a romance novel. We're talking sexually explicit for children that actually no one should read, but especially our kids. Is that correct?
Timothy, I am horrified with what was shown to me. I verified with our superintendent, is this in fact in our school districts? I could say I've looked, at the website and I've seen a lot of districts, even districts that say that they get rid of inappropriate material. I've seen these same books on the shelves in those school districts too. And I'm talking things that that should be honestly only, I don't even think in any hands, but in the hands of an adult. I mean, the very fact that these things are so detailed and it's sexually detailed, and to say that, children should be okay and they should have access to this, it just shows where we're at, right? Like, why should you have any struggle? Why should anybody be pushing back on this? This is a common sense addition to a policy. And I do want to point this out. Like you see in lawmaking with our legislators, they have laws. And what do? They amend them to supposedly make them better, which we know in California, we're in another position, but that's usually what you do. So when I seen that we had a policy, but we still have these books, we need to send the message. We need to change something. We need to make sure this gets out of here ASAP. And that's why the addition to the policy literally is just for sexually explicit material. Wow. The proof is in the pudding. So,
yeah, definitely. Karen England, the kitchen table activist, has this website, and she says, the other side wants to ban books, but we really don't want to ban books. We just want to curate books just like a library would.
Absolutely. And, there is always that question of what's age appropriate. And as a school board member, as a parent, you're supposed to determine that for your own child.
You have age appropriate material for movies, PG-13, rated R.
Timothy, if you were to read these out loud right now, I wouldn't even feel comfortable. As much as you want people to realize what they are, I can't even say those things out loud. That's how bad and inappropriate they are. And to think a child can go in there and just check those out is just horrifying. I mean, how many parents really know what books their kids are checking out, especially if they keep them at school?
Exactly.
Not many. I mean, the most common sense thing to do is to get those things out. We're allowing a process, which, I think is important, that it goes through the local sites principal. It also goes through the parent, because the parent is the one that brings it forward. and then it goes through the local sites principal, then it goes through the superintendent, and then it goes to the board. So it's not like the board is trying to take over authority. We're allowing
Exactly.
all different kinds of hands to be involved in this. And I think that is an important factor too.
Right.
And I do want to point this out too. Most people will never actually read the details of any policy that we brought forward this year. They just go and spin the headlines and spin the truth. And I'm like, if you just read the policy, then I don't think we would have a problem. But maybe they are, and they just still are against it because they want these things in the hands of children. And that's where I'm kind of at. I'm kind of like, oh, so you're okay with having sexually explicit material in the hands of children because you're fighting me.
Yeah.
Or maybe your hate for me is so deep that you're not even seeing the dangers that our children is in. And I think that is a scary thing to be in, but we're going to press forward. I'm going to continue to do what's best for our children.
You know, Chino Valley is kind of like the flagship for public school systems right now. And because you see what happens in Chino Valley suddenly catches fire other places. You know, we recently tried to put the parent policy for you guys at a Fontana school board meeting, and they wouldn't even hear it. Talk a little bit about the parent policy and how that whole battle was going with the state and everything else. I know, you know, they said the state sued you guys, but they didn't even cite a law when they sued you. They cited a statute.
Yeah. So it's sad because I don't think we should be in this position. And I think this should be a strong message to parents all over. The state wants to be able to determine what you can and cannot know about your own child when you send them to school. And I think that's horrifying. I will say this, Timothy, a lot of districts, including ours, had a previous policy that kept secrets from parents in regards to certain things. So that's where when the judge cites that we're being discriminatory on the face towards a certain group, I'm on the other end like, no, you have CSBA and you have all these other people who are asking us to adopt policies as a school district that actually specifically only keep secrets in regards to these things. So why is it so bad that we're reversing that? And we're saying as a school district, we do not allow any parents to be in the dark regarding anything in regards to their child. And I think it's very dangerous to say that, parents are dangerous, number one. And number two, that these kids they always quote that they experience higher rates of suicide and discrimination, and they're bullied more. Okay, so what happens when you have a discrimination claim? Are you going to hide that from the parents too? Because that's usually the number one thing a district does is notify who? The parents. So are you going to say, oh, because it's this reason we're not going to? So then you're going to send the child back at home with the parents not knowing that they're bullied or discriminated against. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then you're saying this child experiences higher rates of suicide, but yet we're not involving their parents. And where does suicide usually occur? 95 or 94% is proven at home. So you're sending these kids back in home, supposedly, according to you, with suicidal thoughts, without any parent knowing that their child is experiencing that. I'm sorry, but I feel that's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous road to send a child on by themselves.
Exactly.
And to tell a child you can have two different identities, one at school, one at home. What kind of mental storm are we taking that child through? It's common sense. Parents are not deemed dangerous unless you go through the proper process. Am I denying that some parents may not have the best interest for the safety of their child? Absolutely not. But what's the state's plan on that?
Yeah.
To send a kid into quote unquote what they say is a dangerous home? I say make it make sense. You know, and the sad part is no one wants to meet in the middle and talk about these things. I mean, we know I know at my end personally, I would be willing to sit with Bonta today, although I know where he stands.
Exactly.
But if it's for the best interest of our children, let's do it. I've offered that. I've offered that to Thurman, and they don't want a conversation because they want to be able to dictate what, and we know it's to have control over the children.
Speaking of Thurman, he showed up at the Chino Valley School Board meeting when you guys passed the parent policy, which was awesome. Awesome what happened to him. And then, but all this curriculum, this sexually explicit curriculum that comes down from California, it's all approved by Thurman. Is that correct?
Well, they're the ones that push what they were required to do, right? So even if a district has no intention of doing that and they want to focus on actually educating our children and minus the social justice and the sexualization of children, take that out. If they continue the route that they are and they keep putting these laws in place, what happens? Even our greatest of greatest staff can't even do what they're supposed to do, which is help provide a great education to our children. And I mean, it's the proof again is in the pudding. Our children are failing at reading, writing, math all throughout California. Why? Because the system's broken. They're not focused on educating our children. Our children are behind in reading. The math is a mess. I mean, did you see the new proposed math that they're talking about? It's absolutely insane. And then you have, the pushing of even the reading again. Let's go back to that. What are you really trying to put in the hands of the kids?
Exactly.
I wish parents would literally see what we've seen. And I think it's possible if, we all just get a little bit more involved.
Yeah, this, is very interesting. This book issue, I think, is the winning issue, because when you read that book out loud at the school board meeting and the school board members don't want to hear it and the adults don't want to hear it, well, then why do you have it in the hands of children? This should be a non-negotiable. It should be out of the question.
Yeah.
And it why they are raping and molesting our kids' minds. That's really what it is.
The fact that you even have them fighting you on it is absolutely insane. I mean, we should all agree that this should not be in the hands of children, but yet they want to claim things like these aren't even in our library. Okay, well, I verified with the superintendent. How much more do you want me to say that they are? I mean, if the facts are presented, I can only verify so much. And from that point, everybody's given the same truth. It's what you do with it, right? And if they want to deny it, it only leads me back to believe that they want this in the hands of children again, because you'll see mixed messages. You'll see on one end, they're saying disturbing, quote unquote, disturbing books are great for children. And then on another end, they're saying you're lying. This is not in our school district. And I'm like, okay.
Which is it?
Say, Timothy, let's just say it's not in our school district. And I'm bringing forth an addition to the policy for sexually explicit material. Why is it an issue?
Exactly.
Unless you want sexually explicit material in the hands of kids again. So for me, all these people fighting against it, it's apparent that they want sexually explicit material in the hands of kids. And the sad part is a lot of these people that I've seen at our own school board meetings, they don't even have children. They've never had children, but yet they're fighting and they're the loudest. Does that even make sense to you? I mean, a parent, like I said, if you want your child to read this, then I think that's another issue. But the fact that you're fighting, if you are a parent, against, in addition to a policy to put safeguards in place, make it make sense again. It just doesn't.
Wow. Talk about, before we end, what can the average person do? What do they need to do to get involved? Because your story, you were just a soccer mom. You weren't a politician. You weren't someone who had hundreds of thousands of dollars behind them like your opponent, who was endorsed by President Biden and Planned Parenthood. You were just a concerned parent. Talk about what other parents can do. Do they all need to run for school board?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but I think you need to get behind the people that actually, are willing to run for school board. But here's what I do say. Everybody's given a gift. Everybody has talents. And if you just use that towards, the goal of making sure our kids have a great education, we're not going to go wrong. I mean, I could tell you, we just started as a bunch of parents that were upset about something a few years ago. I didn't even know what a school board was. I didn't even know that we elected these officials. I wasn't really even involved in elections at all. I mean, it goes to show you, if we can do something to make change, then anybody can. You just have to be willing to get involved. We have, grandparents that, would walk and knock and share the story. We have people who would, make phone calls or text messages, or everybody, do social media, because some of us aren't the greatest at posting on social media. Everybody has something they can offer. It's just a matter of coming to the table and saying, we could do this, right? And getting involved. Listen to the people that, you elected. You're seeing all over throughout California, school boards wanting to, just ignore it. And those, to me, show those people have no business being in those seats. If there's a problem presented, whether or not you're going to take some heat, if you're in the best interest for the children and you're not getting involved, then get them out. We have an opportunity, right? I mean, when did you ever see California this awake when it came to school boards? Yeah. I don't think we've ever seen this, Why
is the attorney general suing a school board if it's not a threat?
Exactly.
I mean, you would think he would have more important things to do, like the border or homelessness or anything else. But no, a school board who all they want to do is let parents know if a child is suffering or going through some type of gender dysphoria or social contagion, but yet it shows
harassment, everything. I mean,
yeah, it shows we're exactly over the target.
Yep.
They're after our kids.
I mean, and I go back to saying this, if they're going to call people every name in the book when they challenge their agenda, if they're going to threaten your life, that shows who wants the kids, right?
Yeah.
And I think that should be a chilling factor, but also a wake up call to all parents and grandparents and community members throughout California. And I do want to say this, whatever happens in California, we know goes throughout the nation, just as we see our own governor trying to go throughout the nation with his new, political ambitions. But I do have hope, because I see a lot of people asking, how can I get involved? What can I do? You see parents like myself that never, had any knowledge of really what any kind of political office entailed. And they're asking, how do we run? And I think that's a beautiful thing, because there's people that want to make the change that is so desperately needed for our children's future.
Last question. I had a mom I was talking to about coming to a school board meeting, and she's like, I've never been before. I was like, well, why don't you just come? It's not scary. You can come, you can listen, you can figure out what's happening, but you're going to see something. You are going to see the manifestation of both good and evil and the battle that we're up against. And I said, I want you to come and pray. What part has prayer played both on your side and also for the people that come? Because I know you have people that come and they're praying the entire time.
Absolutely. And I think prayer is the biggest weapon that we have, because I'll be honest, again, if you're not in constant prayer, your guidance is going to be, taken to a different route that probably isn't the best route. If you're not praying, you're not going to have the protection. If you're not praying, then, you're just going into a battle without any armor on. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. We have grandparents that come and pray around the school, the school district before the school board meetings. I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing as well, that pray over the seats, that pray over our families, for the people who, are fighting in the front of it, because I feel like we all are fighting, right? But then you have those people constantly praying for you, and that plays a big part. I mean, if I didn't have God to go to, I would have ran away a long time ago, because these people are vicious. They come after your family. They've called my husband's workplace. They post the most absurd things online, and, we're human. Those things hurt, but without God's protection and without us being able to go into prayer, I think we would be lost. But prayer is absolutely needed. And to me, it is the best thing, one of the best blessings that we do have, to be able to go to God directly. I mean, how beautiful is that? Yeah.
The fact that we can petition the God who created everything.
Yeah, exactly.
God is for us, who can be against
in your
us.
Prayers, right?
Yeah.
I talk to God all day.
Yeah. Well, guys, keep Sonja in your prayers. Also, pray about what God wants you to do and how he wants you to get involved, because we need everybody involved, because all truth is God's truth. And if you think that Jesus doesn't want you standing up for little children, I think you need to read the Gospels again. Yeah. But Sonja, thank you so much for coming on. God bless you. And we'll be praying for you on Thursday.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.